Let us all turn our Bibles to Judges chapter 6 verse 12. Judges chapter 6 verse 12. I will read it for you. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." So this is what today's message is all about. So the verse says that when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." So why this incident happened in Bible? And today we will see why this angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon. And was Gideon really a fearful person? So if yes, then why was he afraid of something? So why was the angel of the Lord telling all these things to Gideon? So the background of this verse, it tells it verse 1 to 7, we can find that the Israelites, the people of God, they did evil in the sight of God. So they did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and that is why for 7 years God gave the Israelites into the hands of the Midianites. So verse 1 tells that how Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord. So evil in the sight of the Lord is, as soon as one leader dies, these Israelites followed the patterns of the other nations around them, and they worshipped other gods rather than Yahweh. And we see they went away from the presence of God and did evil. So God tolerated those things, but he could not tolerate more than that. So he gave the people of Israel into the hands of Midianites for 7 long years. And we also see, because the power of the Midianites was very strong upon the Israelites, these people of God, Israelites, they just ran and fled and hid themselves in the mountain cliffs and in caves and in strongholds. So wherever they find places to hide themselves and to have a protection and for safety, they just ran towards the mountains, towards the hilltop, to the cliffs and to the caves that are in the mountains, and in all the place that they find very secure. And in the second or the third and the other verses we see, so why they ran was because whenever the people of Israel planted something, so whenever they budded any crops or any plants, these Midianites, what they do, and the Amalekites, two great other surrounding people, they just came at the time of harvest and just took everything, every grain and every plant, every fruit and all the choicest fruit and all the best things from the land of the Israelites. So this is the reason why they ran and fled in the mountains and in the cliffs and the hidden places. So whenever they do something, the Midianites and the other people, Amalekites, they came, they raided the land, they just wasted every material, they just took everything, every resources, and left the place very idle. So there was nothing left for the people of Israel to eat or to have any benefit out of it. So everything was under control of these two people, and mainly the Midianites. They just took all the things from the hands of the Israelites. So there was nothing left so that the people of Israel would eat or would have any refreshment. So as soon as they put their hard labor on the ground and they pull and just plow their fields and do whatever kind of agriculture. So whenever Israelites did this, the people of the other nation, the Midianites and the Amalekites, they just devastated the land. And we see they took all these finest things from the Israelites and they invaded the country. And we see they camped, they put a camp in all these places and the surrounding places, and the crops were destroyed. The good things in the land were destroyed. And not only the crops and the agriculture fields were looted by these Amalekites and the Midianites, but also whatever the livestock that they have, the donkeys, the sheep and the cattle or anything that the people of Israel had, these people came and took all these things also. So there was no cattle, but they faced many challenges. No cattle, no sheep. So as soon as a sheep puts a young kid, they will just take and use it for their own uses. So whatever the good blessings that Israelites receive, as soon as they enjoy the blessings, so within that these people invaded and took all their blessings. So they were without blessing and without hope and without anything. And we also see that they came not in just 1 or 2 or 3 horses, they came in kind of a vast number of army. So it was like a locusts, so grasshoppers. So all these insects, once they come and invade the country or the field, they will never leave any crop or any plant or any wheat as it is. So once they raid these locusts and all the grasshoppers, they just eat up everything from the bottom to the top. So every good thing will be eaten up by all these insects. So these Midianites and the Amalekites were similar to these locusts and the grasshoppers. So they came and without any trace, they just leave the land very empty. So this is the reason behind the verse 12. And today's message is all about a person who was a weak one but made stronger in spirit as well as in flesh. So how did God chose Gideon? So we will look from verse 11, first part. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under an oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abishurite. We see God's angel came from God. So it was ultimately God who prepared, who planned and sent his angel to this place. And we see God has seen his people's suffering. He has seen the struggles of the people of Israelites, and all the Midianites rushed and crushed the people of Israel. They stamped the people of God very badly. They just wounded every place, every people, every person's feeling and emotions. And we see, and the people of Israel were in the hands of their oppressors. So nothing the people of Israel could do individually. So whenever they do any kind of thing, so ultimately the benefits out of those good things were under the Midianite and the Amalekites' control. So they were treated very badly and very harsh rights were taken. And in such a time, God did not sit alone. So even in this difficult situation, God did not sit alone. He did not refuse to see his children's getting oppressed. So he did not relax in a comfortable place, nor was he deaf and he was silent, but God heard their cry. We can see in the verse 7, when the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of the Midianites, he sent a prophet and he spoke several words. So as soon as they cried to their God and turned their bad ways and turned and seeked God, the God of Israel, so God heard they cried, he looked their oppression and watched all these cruel things. And God immediately sent a prophet first, then he sent an angel to reach out the people of Israel. So he did not send his angel to change things. So don't take this wrong. So God did not send his angels to change the things that are happening to the people of Israel. So he did not send his angel to destroy the Midianites, to punish them or to make them utterly demolished, he did not send his angel to rescue his people. So no weapons were in the hands of the angel, and no horses been seen, and nothing in the hands of angel. So the angel was not sent to destroy the Midianites, but the angel was sent for one reason. So the reason was that to visit a person on earth. So his mission was very simple, but was very specific. So this angel of the Lord came and sat under an oak tree, so which belonged to Joash. So a tree which belongs to Joash, and this angel comes and sits there. So why did this angel go and sit there? So there are many places to sit, there are many places to have rest, but why did this angel of the Lord go and sit at that place? So there is a reason behind that. So while the angel of the Lord sat there, he was actually waiting for someone, and that someone was Gideon. So he was all the time waiting for this one fellow, Gideon. We see in the second part, verse 11, second part, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. So what was Gideon doing there? He was actually threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it away from the Midianites. So now we can understand why this angel sat there and came from God. So because he wanted to visit to see Gideon for a purpose. So what was Gideon doing when this angel of the Lord was sitting there? So what was he doing was Gideon was threshing wheat. So he was actually threshing wheat, beating up all these wheats. So cutting all the wheat and bringing it to a place and just beating it so that the weeds will be falling down, and the other rest of the things that it will become rice and other things. So because of the Midianites, so he was threshing wheat very fastly because of the Midianites. We will discuss it later. And because why was he very busy threshing his wheat was because the Midianites, they will snatch all the food from the hands of the Israelites. So whatever grains they find, they just take it for themselves. So that is why before the Midianites would come and occupy and see that place, or see the good crops which Gideon have, so and see all these things, so they will snatch it right away. So he must be very much hurrying. So he must hurry up and do all these things before they invade the land. So Gideon was threshing wheat, but one thing we notice here, we see he threshes wheat. That is fine, his usual work it seems, but where did Gideon do that? So Gideon threshing wheat was a common thing, but the place of threshing the wheat was different. See, in the wine press he was threshing the wheat. So instead of threshing wheat in the wheat floor, he was threshing wheat in wine press. So in a different place he was doing that, and it was an unsuitable place for threshing a wheat. So why Gideon chose wine press to thresh wheat? So Gideon, we see how much fearful this Gideon was. So at the starting stage of Gideon was that much afraid of the Midianites. He feared them so much badly that he changed his location. So I think the Midianites have raided all the wine presses in that place, in the land of Israel, and took all its benefits, the wine, choicest good wines, and have come to all the wheat threshing floor later. So Gideon thought that if I go and thresh wheat in the wine press, then I will be safe, then my wheat will be safe, then I will be enjoying what I have sown. So in the various languages, we see various essence. In Tamil language we see only Gideon threshing wheat. So in English versions we can see that he was threshing wheat in a wine press. So we see basically when you and I go to any village, any mill, any rice mill or wheat, any mill, what they do is they collect everything from the farmers and they just thresh and separate the waste and the grains separately. So that will be the process in a wheat flour. So in a sugarcane factory, we see all the sugar canes will be coming there, and all the waste materials will be on one side, and the essence will be collected, and it will be made and turned into a sugar. One interesting thing is, Gideon should have gone taking his wheat, all the bundles, to the wheat floor and would have threshed them. He took all the bundles and went not to the place usually where the wheat will be beaten up and threshing. He went to the wine press. What has this wheat do with the wine? So we look how Gideon's life was. So doing things in a different place, so out of order and in an unsuitable place. So we can see from the verses that how much fearful this Gideon was. So such a frightened person was Gideon. He was not a bold person. So he did not have guts to face the Midianites. He did not have any boldness. He did not have any power in his hands. So that is why he changed his location and went to the winepress and threshed the wheat. Verse 12 we see, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." So this angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, and these things happen in a particular period of time, and all this time the angel of the Lord waited for the one moment, for the one time, for the one right time to come. And as soon as he saw Gideon, and the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, so as soon as Gideon was doing his work, the angel met Gideon. So in the right place at the right time, angel met him. He said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." So what does this word mean? The Lord is with you. So once we were meditating on the one verse from Psalms 23:4. So we see one interesting thing that happened, and that we meditate from the life of David. So we see, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So that same essence is put up here in this area, in this verse. So what does this word, "the Lord is with you," means? So when the Lord is with us, who is He? So when the Lord is with us, who is that Lord? So from the light of Psalms 23:4, as well as from the light of this incident, when the Lord is with us, He is Immanuel. So when the angel of the Lord said, "The Lord is with you," he meant Immanuel. He reminds Gideon that God is with Gideon. He has always been with his people. God has always been with his people, with all the followers who follow his laws and commandments. And he has always been with Gideon also. Because of the people's disobedience, and because they backslid and went after other gods and served the other people, God just left them or gave them into the hands of the other nations, the Amalekites and the Midianites. So, but God did not leave them forever. So whenever we read the Bible, we see God giving up their people for their disobedience to the other nations and to the other people. But He did not leave them or give them into the hands of the oppressors forever. So forever and ever they will be perished and into the hands of the other. No. When they cried, when the people of Israel repented and cried to God, God always heard their cry and came to heal them and came to rescue and came to protect them. So all the Bible we see right from Genesis till the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. So whenever the people of God cried and called upon the name of the Lord, God answered them. So he did not have any stubborn heart. God did not have any stubborn thing. So whatever sins his children would have committed, as soon as they repent and cry to God, he hears. And same way, when the people of God, the Israelites, cried to God, God heard and came to them. So God was with Gideon and he reminded him through his angel. So that day was a game changer in the life of Gideon. So it was completely a new perspective, a new chapter, a new beginning in the life of Gideon. So the angel said, mighty warrior. So the English versions we see great warrior, mighty warrior and other things. It means mighty warrior. So the Lord is with you is fine. So encouraging Gideon, telling that Immanuel, God is always with you. But mighty warrior is kind of an unreal thing in this place. So was Gideon a mighty person in that place? Or was Gideon a warrior? So no way. We see Gideon was not a mighty person and he was not a warrior and he was not a brave person. So was the angel of the Lord joking there or making fun of Gideon, calling him mighty warrior? So either the angel's word must be false or Gideon's threshing in winepress must be false. So either one thing must be false. But one thing makes this incident true. Both angel's word and Gideon's work was completely true because God never sends false greetings. God never sends false greetings to his people. He never sends false words to his people. He never sends false statements. He never utters any false statements to the people around him, to the people of him. So to understand this, we must see the meaning of one particular word. So when we come across the word of Gideon, so the meaning of Gideon is great warrior, is mighty warrior, excellent warrior, a strong warrior. So the meaning of the name of Gideon is mighty warrior. So the words of the angel was true. So he told Immanuel Gideon, which means Gideon, you mighty warrior, God is with you. So the angel told the meaning of Gideon's name. Actually, the angel reminded Gideon what his name actually meant. So who can be a warrior? So now, come on, you open up and speak. Let us have a little interaction. So who can be a warrior? So a warrior is a person who has been trained in wars, doing battles, doing all the things, holding up the sword, and used to fight with each other, who knows the technique of battle, who knows all the tricks and all the other things. And who else is a warrior? Who is a warrior? Person who stands for a group of people. When we meditated from the life of David, so when Goliath stood there, Goliath was called as a champ, a warrior, because he stood for his people. So who else can be called as a warrior? So what eligibility does a warrior requires? Being powerful, and then being strong, then being powerful, being strong, standing for his people, and then what? faces the obstacles without fear, then one more thing, have a try. So all these things, so one who does not fear anyone, so one who is very bold and confident, so one who stands for his people, one who wins battles, because without winning a battle, he is not called a champ or a warrior. So he wins battles and wars. So a warrior is one who is brave, strong, and courage, and also he is the one who has all skills and talents. So without a talent or skill, so even though he has a gigantic body and all the threatening eyes and other things, so he is unfit to be a warrior. So he should have skills and talents. And a warrior is one who has weapons and equipments. So when we go for a war, people don't go with empty hands. And they won't fight with simply hands and legs. They hold up swords, they hold up shields, they hold up all the metal tools and other weapons in their hands. But in the life of Gideon, we see he did not have any skill or talent. So he was not a brave person, he was not a strong person. When the angel of the Lord met Gideon, he did not have any weapon or nothing in his hands except the wheat and the threshing of wheat, the bundles of wheat. So when we look at Gideon, he did not have any skills or talents, any brave thing, and any label for his name. So he was just a simple man doing a simple thing. He was a fearing man. He was frightened of the Midianites, and he came and secured himself in a wine press. So he hid himself in that place. And from this verse, what can we learn from? So from all these readings and the life of Gideon, verse 11 and 12, what we can learn from this? So this verse really teaches us one thing. And that one thing is enough for us to move on to the other steps in our lives. So when everyone saw Gideon as a normal person, as a frightened person, as a braveless person, God saw a mighty warrior inside of Gideon. So though Gideon did not behave like a warrior, so though Gideon did not have any strength, did not have any guts to face the Midianites, though he did not have any courage like a warrior, he was chosen by God. So God was with Gideon in every situation. So God was with Gideon when he was a child. When he grew up, God was with him. When he cut the wheat grains and put them on his shoulders and came to the wine press, even there God was with Gideon. And while he was threshing the wheat, God was with Gideon. And while he was in the wine press hiding himself from the Midianites, God was yet with Gideon. So in every situation or in Gideon's life, God has always traveled with Gideon in every place. So he was always with Gideon, but Gideon did not realize it. So out of thousands of people, so there are many people in Israel. So if not Gideon, God has so many plans to establish. He has so many people to move on. He has so many people to choose. So not that Gideon was the only fellow in that whole Israel. There were many good people actually. But out of thousands of people, we see God chose this man Gideon for a greater purpose. So he sent his angel to Gideon, and God chose the weak Gideon to defeat the stronger ones, the Midianites and the Amalekites. So today we see God watches all our fears. He watches all our hidings and weakness. But He is not only watching, but He is also with us. So though we walk in a different low level of life, in a very down places, in very lonely places, in very toughest situations in our lives, God has always been with us, as He was with David while he was walking through the darkest valley. So as He was with Gideon while he was hiding himself in a winepress threshing wheat. So God has always been with us. So how many of you have felt God in your life personally? So how many of you felt that God is always traveling with you and always with you? So how many of you can tell? So God does not travel with you. He's traveling alone and you are traveling in another path. So God and us, we need to travel in the same direction. So most of the time, people see us as a fearing person, as a weak person. So person who cannot handle anything. So they can see a frightened version of us. But in the perspective of God, He looks us as a mighty warrior. So do you know the meaning of your names? Do you ever browsed on the internet and searched for the meaning of your names? No? So while I was taking the juniors in the VBS Vacation Bible School, there was one lesson that had the names and the meanings. So Noah, yeah. So the meaning of the name Noah is rest. So as I was browsing and looking all the students' name on the internet, I saw many great versions and meanings of their names. So one was called lovable and great man and children of God. So all the other things we browsed and we just got the meanings of our names. So you go and try today, putting up your name on the internet and texting and typing the meaning of it. So coming week, once you come here, just put them in a diary and just read it. So the meaning of the name of Gideon was mighty warrior. And exactly we see how did the angel of the Lord call him? He called him, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. So he was actually preparing Gideon. He was actually reminding Gideon that your name means mighty warrior. So behave like a person who is a mighty warrior, who is like a mighty warrior. So he reminds Gideon that there is a great mighty warrior inside of you. There is a greater version inside of you. And God is with you and He will bring out that great mighty warrior from this weak Gideon. So that was his message. So an angel popping out of nowhere and telling Gideon all these words doesn't mean that he just simply came and told Gideon, don't fear, so God is with you, and just went away. So the depth of the words of the angel of the Lord was this, telling that, insisting that, reminding that Gideon was a mighty warrior in the sight of God. So today, God watches all our fears, hiding places, weakness, but is not watching alone. He's not just watching and just keeping quiet, just leaving us into trials and temptations. But He has always traveled with us. He has always journeyed with us. And even now, He is with us. So to make us, so why He is with us? And what happens when God is with us? And from the life of Gideon, we see when God is with us, when He is IMMANUEL in our lives, He makes us stronger like a warrior to defeat the enemies. So He makes us stronger so that we will overcome the struggles, the obstacles, the enemy, and the schemes of the enemies. And God sees a greater warrior inside of us. So I want to encourage you all that there is a mighty warrior inside of you. And God in His perfect time will bring that mighty warrior out and show and reveal people who you are as well as who He is. So people may see a different version of man or woman in the upcoming days. So how many of you believe that there is a mighty warrior inside of you and God will bring it out in a perfect time? Nobody. There's only hand. So people see as weak, fainted person, so is unsuitable person, so he cannot handle this thing. So he is very frightened person. But know that there is a mighty warrior who is always inside of you, and that mighty warrior will be activated when you are in the touch with the Spirit of God. So though you and I are weak, though you and I may fear, so not that people who always worship God do not fear. So not that once you accept Jesus as your personal Savior, all your frightenings, all the negative things won't hit you. Even though when you and I accept Jesus, frightening things happen around us and will happen in our lives. But the interesting thing that the one who has Jesus and the one who has not received Jesus, the difference between them is that they have fear. They will be frightened in one situation. They will face challenges in their lives, but they fail to overcome them. But when God is with us, as we, the followers of Christ, so when Jesus is with us, though we face fearful incidents and very unsuitable things that come across our life, God takes complete control over them. So over the situation, and He brings us out of the situation. So we have a IMMANUEL in our lives who has always traveled and who is always traveling with us. So this difference helps us to stay and to stick with Jesus. And we say when IMMANUEL is in your life and in my life. So when we read this chapter and this verse, you see, God was IMMANUEL in the life of Gideon. He did 3 things in the life of Gideon in this particular place. When IMMANUEL is in your life, and when he was in Gideon's life, He takes away fears. He took fear. So He took away Gideon's fear at that time. He took away every discouragement in Gideon's life. He strengthened Gideon through His words, through the angel of the Lord. And today, when IMMANUEL is in our life, as he was in Gideon's life, He will take all our fears away. He will take all our discouragements. So whoever might have put any discouraging words, you cannot do this, you cannot handle this, you cannot overcome this. So all these discouraging words would have made you very low in spirit and would have made very low in your thought process and made you weak and weaker and weaker. So God breaks all these things. He gives courage and takes away all the discouragements. And finally, He strengthens us through His words. So in the life of Gideon, we saw an angel coming up and strengthening Gideon through God's word. Today, through pastors and through missionaries and through evangelists and teachers of the Bible, God strengthens us through His words. So through all these people, these people are medium. So through Bible, through pastors and through worship leaders, God speaks to us personally. So Gideon's life is a great example that even though we are weak, we are weaker vessels. So most of the time we hear that women are most weaker vessels, and we see also we see women are very fearful and very frightened people. But in the life of Gideon, though he was a man, he was frightened, he was a weaker vessel. So the one who does not have the Spirit of God is a weaker vessel and is a weaker person. And that day God strengthened Gideon, and the upcoming verses we see how he defeated all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the other people. So God used this simple Gideon, this fearing Gideon, this frightened Gideon, and chose and took away all his fears, his discouragement, and strengthened him through his words. And that Immanuel is in our lives too. So today's title is that Immanuel in the life of Gideon. So a week before we meditated on Psalms 23 verse 4, and the title of that message was Immanuel in the life of David. Today's message title is Immanuel in the life of Gideon. And let us all close our eyes and look to the Lord in prayer.